guys, and welcome back to Runway from the Rav, a Project Runway podcast. My name is Riley.
And I'm Maggie.
And today we'll be discussing Season 16, Episode 9, A Little Avant-Garde. But before we get into this week's challenge and all of that, this was another kind of cliffhanger episode, 2 in a row, thanks Project Runway. So, at the end of last episode, Michael walks off the runway. Claire had just won the Dixie Cup Challenge with her everyday look. And Michael walks off the runway. Heidi's saying what's going on. No one is saying anything. Margarita looks horrified. Claire looks super confused. Botany, Kenya, they're all just standing there like nothing. Mum's the word. Tim stops Michael, and that's kind of where our last episode ended. This episode we pick up right there. And so Tim pulls Michael aside and is like, you know, what's going on? And he's like, I came to compete fairly. This is not a fair game. And then he finally says it. Last episode, none of them would say it. And this time he says, Claire has measuring tape in her apartment, and she is measuring garments and ripping off looks. Michael knows this because Margarita told him last episode in Spanish. But a lot of the designers have been mentioning and complaining about the twins ripping off looks throughout the season. And they've also been hinting at it on their social media all season. Particularly, I think, like Amy, Michael, and Margarita, but a few others as well. So, and they obviously all knew about it in the workroom because last episode, Margarita ran around telling everybody about how originally Claire was ripping off Margarita's top, but then redesigned her look, which then looked like a top Sean was wearing. So, the issue comes up on the runway, and I think it was Botany who then fesses up about Claire and is like, you know, Claire was making this top that looked like Margarita's, and she references other looks, and that she's like measuring bottoms and tops. And the judges, which included Hadid and Heidi, immediately get defensive and say, well, that's fine. Like, and we've seen in Project Runway before, like, you can measure a pair of pants, you can measure a shirt, you can pattern off of it because fashion, you know, you share. Sharing is caring. But it's different if it's not in the workroom. And that was not clear until I think someone else piped up as well and mentioned that. I think it was Margarita then was like, well, it's outside the workroom. So the judges didn't seem that concerned with it. Like, they were like, well, that's fine. But Tim was like, well, if she, and he made it clear, they had like just him, and he was speaking directly to the camera. If she has a measuring tape and is using it outside of the workroom, that is against the rules.
Yeah.
Tim don't play with no cheaters.
No, he does not.
Tim is a stand-up guy. So, so Heidi and the judges are just like, we're just going to keep going.
Yeah.
Like, so at the end of the day, I think this was Zach said, at the end of the day, Claire had the best print, end of story.
Yeah.
So Claire is still the winner at this point, and they end up having Botany out. So they off Botany. Then they all go back into the little, like, I don't know, sitting area.
It's like, yeah, the backstage, whatever.
Yeah, with like the couch and stuff where they all sit and wait. And everybody else who was safe, you know, was back there, was like, what is going on? And Claire's like, well, I won, but I don't really understand. People walked off stage, like they're like claiming that I cheat and all this stuff. And the people sitting back there are just like, interesting, really? And then everybody else walks in, and Botany's like, well, I'm out. And everybody's like, what? You know, and this is all before Tim comes in. And then I think it's Margarita sits down and like asks Claire, like, do you have a measuring tape in the room? And Claire's like, yeah, I do. And yeah, I've measured things. So she owns up to it right away. But to her, what she says is that it's just a tank top. And she claims that she measured a tank top from the Descendants Challenge.
Yeah.
I think. And then that she measured the crotch, quote unquote, of a pair of pants for this challenge. But according to her, she hasn't measured anything else. Or she only owned up to those two things. But she said it straight up. She's like, yeah, I have a measuring tape. And yeah, I've measured those two things. And Margarita was like, and then Amy was like, that's cheating.
Yeah.
So then Tim walks in and is like, this is the big kerfluffle. Like, I don't really know. And then he straight up asks Claire, do you have a measuring tape in your hotel room? And she says, yes. She says, I've measured this tank top and this pants. And he says, okay, in that case, Claire's win was removed, rescinded, and she was sent home, which meant Botany got to stay. And So basically Claire was just like disqualified from the competition.
Right.
And it turned out that Dixie ended up choosing Brandon's print as the winning print. But Heidi on the runway said that no one would win the $25,000.
Yeah.
But then like the Dixie Cup lady met with Brandon and was like, hey, we like your print. We're going to make 3 versions of it. But I have now seen on Brandon and Dixie's Twitter that he did get money for it. Maybe not $25,000, but he was like reimbursed because they used his design. Like it's his work. So it's not exactly a happy ending because Brandon was not like in second place.
Yeah, he wasn't even in the top. He was safe this week, wasn't he?
Yeah, so somehow he was safe, but he still won. So it should have, in my mind, gone to then Kentaro, or they should have redone all the judging or something, or just, but it was Dixie Cup's choice, although they're not a judge. So the fact that they just randomly chose Brandon's design sat a little wrong with me, but at least now we can move forward. The twins are gone. We don't have to hear and read about all their drama and all the people who hate them, because there's a lot. People out on social media and other places. So the twins are now gone.
Yep.
So, and Claire at least owned up to it. I don't think she felt she was doing anything wrong, but that was kind of the twins this whole season. Anytime someone would be like, what you made is ugly or what you made is bad, they're like, I disagree. So, whatever.
Well, and they never had any qualms about like helping each other either.
Right.
They're just like, what?
Yeah.
That's not cheating. We can help.
Right. I still feel the same way as I did last week about Margarita and Michael's way of bringing this about.
Yeah.
I'm glad they brought it to light. I'm glad that the cheater is gone. I'm glad that we can move forward with this. The way they went about it, behind her back, talking in Spanish, being kind of immature about it, that's what sits wrong with me. Like, I agree what she was doing is wrong, but they should have, and I know they went to producers, but like, you have to go to Tim or Heidi.
Yeah.
Because that's how this show works. Like, the producers are not going to step in and really do anything anymore because they want that drama and they want it to, blow. This was probably their dream runway. Somebody walks off, there's a big blood, but.
Yeah. Well, and Michael and Margarita, like, after everything in the episode, they said, like, they really regretted how they each handled the situation. And they were like, they did say they wished that they had pulled Tim aside and Claire aside and like not made such a big show out of it. I don't know if I believe that necessarily.
Well, see, that's my thing is I'm like, I'm not sure I believe you, because if you truly felt that way, then you would have done that.
Yeah.
Like, they had plenty of chances last episode when they were like really riling each other up about it to be like, where's Tim? Like, Sean literally stood in the middle of the room during their 1 hour challenge and just was like, where's Tim? If she can do that, Tim is always like in the wings, as it were. Yeah. But so at least it's done now and we can move forward and we're moving on. So this week's challenge, again, it was called A Little Avant-Garde. So it's our first avant-garde challenge this season. And the challenge was to create an avant-garde look inspired by Shopkins Shoppies. And now I don't know, because I don't have children and I am not a modern day child. But I believe that Shopkins are like collectible little toys that are like grocery store items and like food and stuff. And the Shoppies are dolls that then buy those items. So it's like a Bratz doll. Yeah. But it's like food related. I don't know that. If you know Shopkins, you're probably like, wrong. These got no. But sorry, I don't. They also didn't explain it. But all I know is this is the 3rd episode in this season now, with something specifically aimed at kids. So we had Leap, that movie. We had the Descendants 2 movie, which is a Disney Channel kind of thing. Now we have Shopkins. It's just, their target audience is obviously moms who shop at JCPenney. Yeah. And that's fine. That's probably the target audience for Lifetime. This show, as we've discussed before, it's in its 16th season. You're probably not going to get the top of the tops. Shopkins is not the first toy we've seen. We saw American Girl dolls a few seasons ago, but at least there they were dressing a kid. They were dressing the doll. American Girl is known for being kind of fashion because it's throughout time or like different time periods, and it's kind of like a doll and a brand that's been around a really long time, whereas I feel like Shopkins,
it's relatively new.
Yeah. Now, if next challenge is like a fidget spinner challenge, I'm done.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Imagine.
We already had like the selfie challenge, this challenge. If we have like an emoji challenge or a fidget spinner challenge, I'm done. I'm out.
Okay.
Okay, so the winner would get $5,000 and a custom Shoppy. Not Shoppies, like a line of Shoppies of their design, or even a limited edition run. They'd literally get one Shoppie for themselves. And then they have $300 at Mood, and it's a 1-day challenge. So how did you feel about the challenge?
Lame sauce.
Lame sauce.
It's just, yeah, everything you just said. Like how, really, like another kids-inspired challenge. Like, I don't know. Did you see recently Christian Siriano made a line of, like, Barbie clothes?
Yes.
That is what I feel like this should be. Like, if they're gonna do, like, a toy or something like that, it needs to be at that level. Like, my God. Like,
Barbie as a very different... Like, these dolls, they had clothes on, you know, but I wouldn't say they were really known for their fashion, right? Like, and it was cute because they brought in little girls who were, like, Shopkins super fans, and they were playing with them, and then the girls had, like, designed a look, and they, like, met with the designers. We'll get to this in a second about, like, the setup there, but I just feel like American Girls, that's a higher brand.
Yeah.
Barbie, a higher brand. Or, like, even some other, like, niche-y doll or toy that could be... This one just felt like a bit of a stretch to me. And then an avant-garde challenge with only 1 day. You're just, like, because of 1 day on Project Runway is what, like 8 hours? 14, maybe, max?
Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like it's like 8 to 10 hours is what you get.
If that, because they've got to go to Mood, and who knows how long that takes to shoot.
Yeah, and then the day of the runway, they get like an hour to dress their models, do finishing touches, get their makeup, get their hair, and get them down to the runway. So,
yeah.
Avant-garde, I really prefer to see like a 2-day. But, so like I said, they brought in little girls on the runway. They then parceled them out with the designers. It was a little interesting that it looked to me like they partnered each little girl's race with the race of designers.
I noticed
Like,
that too.
like Kentaro, there was a little Asian girl, and everybody else. So I was just like, I don't know if that was intentional or not. There was no button bag or any randomness. It seemed to me like, one, I think it's great that you can take somebody of a race and, you know, pair them up and be like, look, you could become a fashion designer someday. You're like an 8-year-old, 10-year-old little girl.
Right.
And you could become a great fashion designer. So I'm torn of like, is that good? Is it kind of weird? I don't know. I was torn, but I noticed it because I was like, okay, literally, you know, all the black designers got little black girls, and then when Kentaro got like the only Asian girl and all the white, I was just like, okay. So something to note.
Yeah.
But no one like in the show made a big deal of it. The girls were all adorable and super into their Shoppies. Yeah. They'd drawn their own little designs and then met with the designers. Some of them were obsessed with sparkles. One liked disco. Brandon's girl happened to like chocolate a lot. And if you watch SpongeBob at all, there's a whole episode in the early seasons about chocolate. And that's all I could think of it. Because the girl's like, oh, I just love chocolate. And you could put chocolate on the dress. And then it could have like chocolate drip. And she's chocolate, chocolate, chocolate. And all the Shoppies seemed to be about food. It was like peppermint swirl, rainbow candy, chocolate, chocolate, chocolate. So, and Brandon's just like, I have no idea what's going on. So, then they got to go to Mood. They had $300 and the normal 30 minutes to shop. Racing around at Mood, we got to see our little Swatch. After they were leaving, Tim was like, okay, Swatch, you can have a nap now. And he just laid down like a lump. It was great. It was great. Okay, so into the workroom then, or do you have any Mood moments?
No. Let's go to the workroom.
Okay, so this workroom, I believe it was Margarita said the workroom felt more fun and light with the twins gone. So, you know, mission accomplished there, I guess. And it did. Like, everybody was joking around and stuff, but that could easily be the edit as well. Like, this is not the first season where we've had the villain cast in a negative light, but that's all we see. Like, they're in there for, like, 8+ hours a day, and we see, like, what, 20 minutes?
Yeah.
So, but everybody's, like, joking around, laughing. A few people did struggle with the challenge, though. Amy struggled, and we heard a little more about, like, how she has a daughter and how so playing with, like, the little girl with the Shopkins stuff. She's like, I didn't even want to design clothes. I just wanted to play with her and, like, spend time with her. Brandon was really struggling because he didn't get a lot of, like, insight, you know, from his 8-year-old girl. He was like, all I got was chocolate. And I'm like, well, you know, she's 8 and she's got a passion. Yeah. It's a passion for chocolate, but, you know. And then Ayana was also struggling initially. And with her, like, critique with Tim. But I think she managed to turn it out.
Yeah.
And then we also got a little Kentaro, little dose of Kentaro cuteness. He was just doing a lot this episode, but at one point he was like, ooh, after this we should go to the sauna. But he has a bit of an accent, which I will not try to replicate. But he's like, ooh, we should go to the sauna. And then he's like, Kenya, you want to go to the sauna? And she misunderstood him and was like, what? And he's like, the sauna. And she's like, what? And he's like, sauna. And she's again like, Santa? And he's like, yes! Happy Merry Christmas, Kenya! And I had to pause it. I was laughing so like because he was like throwing like it was funny because like he's gotten along with a lot of the other contestants, but he really seems to have bonded with like I see him talking a lot to like Samantha, who's gone now, Kenya, and then Brandon. So that was kind of funny. And then at another point, he put on Ayana's dress, and Ayana was working because it's avant-garde with like chicken wire. So she made this huge like hoop skirt kind of thing, and he like stepped into it and was like dancing around in it, and it was just kind of fun. That it's nice to have someone with like a kind of lighter personality because I'm sure it's episode 9. They've been in this competition now for probably at least a couple weeks, and it's long hours and you're away from your family. But a little levity is always nice, and so thank you, Kentaro, for lightening the mood, especially after like the beginning of this episode and last episode. I was just like, please, like something else. Do you have anything else from the workroom?
One more on Kentaro. I also liked when he was the one that got to be like, okay, that's the end of, time's up for the day. And then
that's
he's like,
my quote. Don't
bring, okay, I'll stop then. I don't have the exact quote, so we'll wait for the exact quote at the end.
Yeah, don't take my quote of the week.
But it was a good one.
That has also been made into a GIF online quite a bit.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But yes, we'll get into that. Our last little bit of shade.
It was awesome.
It was. Okay, so let's move on to the runway.
Yeah.
It's a short runway now, and they're just going to get shorter. Next week's going to be short. So our guest judge this week was Kate Upton, model, actress. So that's kind of nice. At least I've heard of her. Yeah. Sometimes they get like actresses or models who I'm like, who?
Yeah.
Who are you? I do wish that they would change up the guest judges sometimes. I wish they could find get some other fashion designers in there, or people a little more, or someone known for avant-garde art or something. Or it also tends to be young actresses. I feel like we've had a couple male models, or we've had Christian Siriano or something, but it'd be nice if a few more dudes, or just people with different backgrounds than just hi, I'm the newest young actress. So
right.
But hey, Kate Upton, can't complain. So first up down the runway this time was Brandon. And like we said, he struggled a bit this week. But what he ended up putting down the runway was this kind of muted, I don't know, mint green and white kind of smock, apron-y dress, which is his classic style. It had a lot of straps, and on the front they were kind of crisscrossed in a V pattern, and then kind of came down the back just loose. So strap fringe kind of. And then the sides of the dress from the hip down, he described them as shirt cuffs.
Yep.
What did we think of Brandon's?
Well, I feel it's very Brandon.
Very Brandon.
But this is not a crop top.
Whoa! But it has straps.
It does.
But it is not a crop top.
No, it's not.
There was no foghorns, we're, air horns, I guess. Yeah.
But, I mean, I liked it from, he was really struggling in the workroom, so I like what he was able to, create, but, I don't know, Brandon's work's just not my style. To me, this isn't that different from what he already makes. The judges were wow, you took your style and you made it so avant-garde, and to me, it's not really that big of a difference.
Right.
But I did like the neck detail. I thought that was something cool.
Yeah.
And he actually used some color, a little bit of color that wasn't brown.
True.
That was kind of nice. But I don't know. I just can't really get into Brandon. It was just okay for me. What do you think?
He has this very certain oversized aesthetic of just layering stuff. I liked the neck as well. But I don't like that she had to hold up the dress. If she wasn't holding up the two, side cuffs, it would look like anything he's ever made, just instead of separate, it's one dress. She had to, literally, as she walked down the runway, hold them up on either side like she was carrying buckets. So it just, I was like, well, then that's not very avant-garde if she has to hold it up that way and it's not structured to do that. So it just kind of felt like she was like holding her dress inside out at the bottom. But I liked the colors, and even though he didn't do anything chocolate related, I could see this as like a mint chocolate chip ice cream or something.
Yeah.
You know, so, and he was chosen for critique in the top. And I will note that before the runway started, Heidi mentioned that, you know, the old classic, one or more of you will be eliminated. And then at the end of the judging, she said, this is rare. We have 4 in the top and 2 in the bottom. So only 2 safe.
Yeah.
And I think that's a first in a long time. Sometimes there's like one person they're kind of split on, but I haven't seen too many where it's like 4 truly in the top.
Yeah.
But she also said, quote unquote, this is the best avant-garde runway we've ever had. And I'm just like, disagree.
Yeah.
Were you there in like seasons 1 through 5? Yes, you were. And a lot of those had better. Well, I just remember like Christian Siriano's one with like the big frill. And I think theirs was a partner challenge, but like, that was pretty good. Or even, who was it who made the like, I didn't like it at the time, but the bridge one.
The bridge.
Yeah, was that Kelly from the Deli or was that Jenny? Who made like the like Brooklyn Bridge or something dress, but it's avant-garde, right? Like it's weird,
Yeah.
you know. So, or even Keeney's Rainway dress, like that was really cool. So, all right. So next up down the runway was Botany, and she technically went home at the beginning of the episode, but then got to come back. So this was like her chance to prove herself. And what she put down the runway, this is hard to explain. But she uses 3 fabrics here, like a black and white kind of checked fabric, a muted floral fabric, and then like a blue textured kind of textile. And I believe it's one piece.
Yeah.
But it looks like she just bunched up like 3 types of bed sheets and sewed them onto like a black shift dress.
Yeah.
There's like a cape thing with a bit of a hood that is removable, and then the skirt is multiple like layers and just bunching, and it's like got open cuts in like the back and the front. What do we think of Botany's?
I didn't write very much about this. Like, to me, it didn't really have any structure. It was just like, it just looked like bunches of fabric, like you said. Just like bunches of fabric just sewed to a black dress. Like, I don't know. It just didn't really make a lot of sense to me. What do you think?
I agree. I don't remember who they said it about, but it may have been Zach about this one, where it just looks like it's laundry day, but she's literally carrying her laundry down with, like, on her body.
Yeah.
It just, I want to like the fabrics. Like, I really like the 3 fabrics she chose. I think they work well with each other. I just wish she had used them in a more structural way or a more interesting way. This looks like a mistake. And then they were like asking her about like, well, you can see the black dress underneath. She's like, oh, I wanted you to see that. And they were like, but why? So this is like her like episode 1. I think she put down a dress that had like a tail dorsal stripe. And they're like, why did you put that there? And she's like, oh, I thought it would look good, but it turned out to be covering a hole. So I wonder if this was the same way. Like she didn't expect it to like, because they discussed the skirt was like riding up in the workroom. So I wonder if like it was another thing where like, well, you weren't supposed to see it, but I'm going to own it on the runway and say you were. And then they had like flashes to like the models like back and sides, and it was not flattering. And this is a pretty model, a tall statuesque model, and it did her no favors. So I can't imagine what this would look like on a shorter person or a bigger person. Like you just truly like a mess. And she was chosen for a teak in the bottom. So this was her chance to be like, you got saved without using the Tim Gunn save, but she didn't really elevate it. Next up, we had Kenya, who made another peplum, although this time it is a different shape, so I won't do the horns, but she put down, it's like this white fabric with like black like kind of check, and then she has like the, I don't know, they're like flower petal shaped peplum, 2 layers like on the middle part, and then it's a strapless dress. And on the top, it has like 2 little tiered of like, I don't even know what those are over the bust. And then it's like nice slinky down the leg, and it's floor length with like a bit of a train. What do we think of Kenya's?
This one, I mean, I do like it, but to me, it doesn't read very avant-garde. Like, I don't know, I feel like she needed to amp up the shape a little bit more to make it avant-garde, or just something. I don't know. I liked it, but I'm not sure if it was quite right for the challenge. What do you think?
I liked this as well. I like Kenya's like structured work. I kind of like that like high tailoring and things.
Yeah.
But I agree. Her sketch, she had like these little things coming out from like the hips.
Yeah.
That were like, I don't want to call them feathers, but that may be what they were, like on like little sticks. That may have like, you know, given some more movement or something. Or she needed like a, like with the way the petal pleating is, she could have done like kind of a, I don't know what to call it, but like not a cone, okay? Not like a dog who just was at the vet, but some type of like structured hood, or even like a half, like, you know, like, I don't know, like a shell over like one half of the hat, something more structure at the top, like a strapless dress, and with her hair straight down with straight across bangs, and then there's like these like droopy things over her breasts, and then these droopy things at the hip, and then a long skirt. It was just like, I wanted to like it, but it just felt like she was being dragged down, and there was nothing that like made it avant-garde. It was just like, well, you made a dress with slightly weird pleats.
Yeah.
Or not, yeah, like peplum thing.
Mm-hmm.
But she was safe. Next up, we had Ayana, who really took this challenge to heart, and she has been safe, I think, almost every single episode. Or she was in like a team and safe, so she was like, I need to do something. Whether they love it or hate it, I'm going to get critique this time. And she had Lyris, and she put down this, she used chicken wire to make like a gigantic hoop skirt, but instead of the skirt of a dress where you think, she moved it up and hung it off Lyris's shoulders, and it's like this fluffy pink, not fluffy, like this,
it's
roughly, there we go, ruffled pink with like 8 tiers of ruffle that goes down to like mid-thigh, a gigantic silk bow on the front, another few bows in the back. Lyris's hair is styled with a bow bun. And then underneath this pink thing is like polka dot tights with like gray tulle at like the ankle.
Yeah.
What did we think of Ayana's?
I kind of loved it. I thought it was like perfect for the challenge. Because to me, you could definitely see like the like childlike inspiration, and like to me it related with like a toy or like a, I don't know, I'm like you, I really don't know much about Shopkins, but I feel like it would go. I don't know, it's just very fun, and like I like the polka dots, like that was really whimsical, like the whole thing was whimsical. I don't know, I really liked it, and to me it was very avant-garde, because this is certainly not something you'd see on the street.
Well, you couldn't even get into a car.
No.
During this, so I don't think you'd be, driving to JCPenney's in this.
I loved it. What'd you think?
I liked this a lot because of the challenge. Yeah. So, because it was a toy challenge with kids, and her little girl specifically asked for bows. Most of the designers like listened to their kid like at that moment and then did nothing about it.
Yeah, they're just like, okay.
Yeah,
I'm
but Ayana's kid, I think, was like, I want pink and I want bows, and Ayana was like, I got you, fam. Like, here we go, 12 bows. I think it's a lot, but it's avant-garde. The fact that she made this in a day and like worked with the chicken wire and made this, I think, is really cool. I'm not in love with the underpiece. Like underneath the pink thing at the top is like this yellow and black like tank top thing. I'm also not a big fan of the tulle like ruffle at the bottom. I don't mind the polka dots. I wish they weren't black and white, but I'll allow it. I also have to mention, Lyris is definitely my favorite model this season. She's a lot, but I love it. But her modeling, she was really hamming it up, but in a cute way, because she couldn't move her arms. Her arms were like trapped under this thing. But she's like sashaying, and then when she got to the end of the runway, she's making like this doll face, and her makeup's kind of done like a doll. And then she got like a bow on her head, and they use like glitter spray paint in her hair. Like, but she was just like hamming it up, but in like a good way. And I just was like, they're going to put you down in what looks like, to me, this looks like a cake that like, someone pops out of at a birthday party, but like they moved the party, so she had to like stick her feet out like a Flintstones car and like move her cake body. But she was owning it, and it's like you said, whimsical. It's weird, but it's avant-garde. And she was chosen for critiquing the top. Next up, we had Kentaro, and Kentaro put down like it looks similar to something he made before, but it's white and kind of light pink, and it's like a spaghetti strap kind of top that goes into this big like fluffy like marshmallow poof skirt that then goes into like a tulle skirt and then goes into white leggings. And then I don't know if it was a jacket or just like a piece of like beige colored tulle that she's like holding. I don't remember her taking off a jacket, but she may have. What do we think of Kentaro's?
To me, this one's just okay. Like, I don't know. Another one that's like, it's sort of halfway. Like, I don't feel like the whole thing reads as like avant-garde. Like, I don't know. And like you said, he's kind of done something like this already. I really liked the top part of the skirt, like the one that's more of like the opaque fabric, not the tulle part. Like, I thought the texture on that was really cool, and like however he, I don't know what the word is, like draped or sculpted that, like he did a really cool job with that. But I don't know. It wasn't my favorite, but I definitely didn't hate it. Like, I'm just kind of neutral about it. What'd you feel?
I feel like this looks exactly like his design from the Leap episode where they made like something inspired by dance.
The black one.
Yeah, like he made like a black leotard with like a tulle long skirt over it, like a tutu. This looks like that, only this is like the white swan version, and then he added like a cloud belt.
Yeah.
So I like Kentaro, and I get where he's going with this, but it's just not avant-garde.
Yeah.
It just looks like she like had a dress that had like a bunch of tulle to add body, but she like rocked it all up to her hips, and that top part is supposed to like fall over, and it's a normal dress with like some like movement and bounce underneath it, but instead she like I don't know, scooped it all up so you can see like the tulle underneath. So not my favorite, but he was safe.
Yep.
Next up we had Amy. Amy really struggled with this challenge. Like I said, she was talking about like her daughter and all this other stuff. And now she was just, missing that, and that avant-garde isn't really her style. She's very simplistic. And she ended up putting down this, like, it's kind of like a dark gray-ish, like black, kind of structured like jacket with a really big kind of asymmetrical neckline. It kind of came around the back. It's tied or secured like at an angle on the front, like a wrap. Then there's a piece of beige/tan fabric, just a flap of it sewn on. It didn't seem to do anything, but it's there. And then this was all over like a leathery looking, like kind of like blue tight dress with no sleeves. What did we think of this?
Not my favorite. Amy's just like, she just really hasn't impressed me really with much. So I don't know. This one, I'm surprised that she said that she doesn't, like, that avant-garde's not her thing. Because I feel like on past challenges, like, she's tried to, like, incorporate those kinds of ideas. Like, remember that super ugly, like, green plastic, like, hood thing she was gonna do? Oh, yeah,
for the first challenge? Or the unconventional challenge?
Yeah, Tim was just like, no. And then, like, she's done other things like that, too. Like, at least in the workroom, like, tried it out. And I feel like those could have been, like, I don't know. I just wasn't understanding, I guess, why she was struggling so much with it. And I don't get her, like, Shopkins inspiration in this at all.
It's so muted, the color palette.
Yeah.
And these dolls were, like, rainbow glitter on a stick. Like, they were insanely colorful. Because that's what grabs kids' attention.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Like, I don't know. It just, like, the piece she made for the runway, it was just, like, to me, like, way too simple, for one. Like, it was just, like, a jacket with, like, a tight dress. Yeah. And that was it. And, I don't know. I'm not impressed. What'd you think?
I liked the top of this. And what we saw of that in, like, the workroom, and that's what she had on, like, built when Tim came by. I was like, okay, I like that. It's like this asymmetrical kind of big collar. I think Kate Upton called it vampy a couple times, and I definitely got that vibe. But it just went nowhere. This is such an unresolved look to me. And then, like, this flap of beige fabric does not avant-garde make. Like, what is that? Like a shoulder cape for one arm? Like, I don't get it. And then, yeah, having it just be over the short dress is a really missed mark. Like, yeah, like, I like Amy for her kind of her insights about like fashion and the people in the workroom, and her personality for the most part. Like she's I don't know, but yeah, she hasn't really made anything yet that I like, and she's made a couple things and I'm like, no, like that blue suit, no,
what was it? Was it just last week with the print? Those, like, fringe things? Or the chaps, or, like...
The chaps, last week.
Of?
Yeah, last week she made chaps. The week before that, she made, like, a David Bowie denim blue suit with giant lapels. And then this week, she made nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she was chosen for critique in the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, we had Margarita, who had an idea right away and went with it. So she put, like, fabric over foam so that she could kind of structure it. Mm-hmm. And what she ended up putting down the runway was, like, this, like, white tulle mixed with this cream colored kind of silky fabric paired with, like, I think it's, like, silver kind of, like, sequined fabric. And it kind of looks like a wedding dress that got caught in a windstorm in, like, not a bad way, you know?
Yeah.
I can't describe... Some of these avant-gardes, I can't describe it like, oh, it's this kind of dress with that hemline. Like, look up a picture. If you listen to this podcast, you probably saw it, you know? It's white, it's silver, it's voluminous, it's puffy. What did you think of Margaritas?
Honestly, like, maybe I'm just too close-minded, I don't know. But this just... It kind of read the same way as Botany's did for me. Like, when I saw it, I was like, is that, like, again, I just see bunched up fabric. But, I mean, I can tell the difference, though. Like, Margarita's definitely looks much more finished and much more intentional than Botany's does. But, I don't know. It still reads very much that way to me. But I guess I do really like that she mixed different textures together, and like her fabric choice was just better than Botany's was too. And I like that she did try to incorporate the glitter and some of the things that she talked about with her little girl. But I don't know, it was nice. Not my favorite, but it was good. What'd you think?
I didn't like this when I saw it come down the runway. Like, when it moved, it really looked kind of sloppy. But in a still photo, or when she, like, posed at the end of the runway, I liked it a little better. I would like it a lot more if on one shoulder she's got, like, this white puff of tulle. If that was gone and the silver things on the shoulders were both, like, correct, and then it went into the madness, I'd like it a lot more, because then it would have, like, a bit of a story. But here it just looks like she was going to her wedding or, like, a real fancy dinner party, and she, like, fell down the stairs in, like, dramatic movie style and stood up, and this is what it looked like. Or, like, yeah, she got into a wind machine to get, like, cash money in, like, a game show and came out like this. It doesn't look fully purposeful in the front. The back, I like a lot more. But the front looks... And then with the tulle bit on the shoulder, that's what throws me off. It really feels out of whack, but it looks more purposeful than Botany's, like you said. And she is chosen for critique in the top. And then lastly, we had Michael, and his little girl liked disco, because, you know, 8-year-old girls like disco. And so Michael's look, he was inspired by a disco ball. So he bought silver sequined fabric. I don't think he bought much else. No. And he made a jumpsuit. And this jumpsuit is silver sequins all the way. It's a high-necked piece. It goes all the way down the sleeve, and they've got kind of a flare at the sleeve. It's very, like, 70s. And then tight pants on the jumpsuit that then flare out quite a bit from, like, the knee down to the foot. And then underneath it, there are, like, I don't know how to describe them. I'm not sure if it's foam under there or, like, a tube or what. But around one shoulder, there's, like, a lump. And then around, from, like, one hip to the other hip, crossing over the front of her is, like, a tube. But it's under the sequins. It's, like, built into it. And then goes into, like, her pocket. What did we think of Michael's?
I don't know. He described his idea as, like, he wanted this to be, like, a melting disco ball. And I gotta say, I don't get that. Like, I mean, I understand the idea, but that's not what I see when I look at it necessarily. But, I mean, it definitely does, like, I do see the avant-garde in it, and he fit it to his model really, really well. Like, it looks really well made. But I don't know. I have to say, I didn't really care for, like, the bulges. Like, especially the one around the waist. To me, that was, like, the weirdest one. Like, it looks like a tail or something. Like, it doesn't look like a disfigured, like, disco ball to me. Like, all I see is, like, a reptile or something. I don't know. It just kind of creeps me out. But I feel like without those bulges, though, it would just be a weird jumpsuit. Like,
Right.
I feel like you have to have them, so I don't know. What do you think?
This reminds me a lot of last season, one of the avant-garde challenges. Crowd favorite Cornelius made a parasite dress. Much to our dismay, we made quite a bit of fun of the parasite dress and things like that. To me, that middle tube that comes around just makes me think of that parasite dress Cornelius made. And yeah, it disturbs me, the location of it and the appearance of it. And the fact that it's under the jumpsuit. It looks like she's like being eaten by a gigantic tapeworm or something. The one on the shoulder doesn't bother me. It doesn't make sense. Like, that's not what a melting disco ball would look like. Like, the fabric, yes, but not like a weird cylindrical tube over the hip. I don't get it. I don't like it.
This is like the child of Cornelius's parasite dress and Brick's pants.
Yes, his glitter bell bottoms from last season, yes. But he was chosen for critiquing the top. So that meant that our top was Brandon, Ayana, Margarita, and Michael. Kenya and Kentaro were safe. And our bottom this week was Botany and Amy. So again, Heidi clarified that you could have one or more of you will go home. And that's very important to keep in mind. So the winner this week was Michael. Do you agree?
I do not. I think it definitely should have been Ayana. Like, to me, it was like a no-brainer. Like, to me, hers was the only one. Or, like, okay, I shouldn't say the only one. But to me, hers had the strongest, like, I don't know. Hers read the most avant-garde to me. It connected with the Shopkins the most to me. It had whimsy. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I disagree.
Same. I think Ayana's was fun. It was playful. I think an 8-year-old girl, that would be fun to have, like, on a doll, like, kind of like as a, like, sculptural piece that you take on and off. Because that looks like, you know, that's kind of the fun of most, like, dolls and stuff, is they dress them up in different things. And it looked like the Shopkins' clothes was made out of plastic anyway. So you could have that big pink piece as, like, a plastic kind of thing. But I know they're only making one doll, so, you know, it's not like a line. But, yeah, I also disagree with this. Michael's didn't seem very avant-garde to me, and it didn't seem very unique. Like, you made a silver jumpsuit. Oh, you put lumps in it. I can't help but feeling that he won because he was the one who, like, exposed the cheating circle.
Yeah.
And that the producers were like, good job. I don't know. It felt like I don't know. Sometimes when the judges are like, oh, I love this. I'm like, no, how? Am I the blind one? Are they the fashion? Didn't like it. But he was in the tops. That meant that Margarita, Ayana, and Brandon were all safe. And so that left us then with Botany and Amy. And first, Heidi said, I'm sorry, Botany, you're out again.
Yep.
She probably now holds the record for the person offed twice in one episode. I don't think that's ever happened before.
No.
But Botany was like, yeah, you know, kind of figured it. You already, you know, offed me once, so, you know, it's probably it. Unless she gets the Tim Gunn save next week, and then she could be offed 3 times. No. And then Amy's standing there, and Heidi says, Amy, you're also out. And she gave out this tiny little, that kind of broke my heart. And I didn't like her design. I haven't liked her design for a few weeks. But I always felt there was something more to what she could create. And this week she just got distracted by the kids stuff, which we've seen before. This is not the first designer who starts talking about their kid and goes home.
Right.
But it was just that little, like she was shocked that she also went home. But I think it was because, like, they already sent Botany home, technically. So that's not, like, good enough to end the episode on, right? Like, that's not enough. So they had to be like, nope, 2 of you go home. Because, like, Botany's, like, already a given.
Yeah.
So that means next week we are only going to have just a handful of designers left. We are just cruising for the end here.
Yep.
So do you agree that both of them should have gone home? Or do you think just one? Or...
I don't know. I guess I gotta say I do agree because I feel like Amy she wasn't very successful in the competition.
Right.
Like, maybe this just, she's not great at the one-day stuff. But, I don't know. This definitely, at least to me, like, this definitely wasn't her worst piece.
No.
Like, if none of this drama had happened, then I think I would feel differently. You know? Like, if Botany had never been sent home initially, and none of that stuff had happened, and it was just between the two of them, like, level playing field, then I think it should have been Botany over Amy, definitely. But, I don't know. Like you said, since they already sent her home, and then there was, like, zero change in their minds of, like, no, we're sticking with it. I don't know. It did kind of feel like they, would have to eliminate somebody else, too.
Yeah, they had to up the stakes. And I think it was Zach or Nina were like, well, you know, Fashion Week's coming up, and so these folks just didn't quite cut it. And they both didn't cut it in different ways, but at the same, like, level of, like, you don't get it.
Yeah.
You didn't get it. So, like, Botany's just was like, that's not avant-garde. You can't just put a bunch of stuff up on a dress form and be like, it's avant-garde! And then with Amy's, it's like, you can't just put together something with a slightly oversized one aspect and be like, avant-garde.
Yeah.
So, you know, they both kind of missed the mark there, but, you know, there's always a double a limb every episode, or every season, sorry, and so it's like, this was just a jam-packed episode. Technically, 3 people went home. Claire, Botany, and Amy in one episode gone. So, interesting. All right, so I guess we'll do my quotes of the week, and then we'll get our sneak peek for next week. So, these are all over the place, okay? These are just kind of random quotes. At one point in the workroom, Kenya was talking about her design and said, 'cause you know I'm so extra. She was talking to Tim. And as someone who's been called extra by some of the people in this very car, I feel for Kenya because she's not the first designer who's, like, good at tailoring or good at putting in details and then maybe sometimes does too many. My beloved Keeney was very similar, where because he sewed so fast and because he had a very distinct design aesthetic, he would sometimes be like, oh, and it has this, and it has that, and it has this, and it has that, and it's like a little too much. But the fact that he could do it all in like 8 hours is impressive. Same thing with Kenya. But just like, I'm so extra. So like, she knows she's putting too many peplums on things or doing too much or whatever. But like, you know, that's her style. Now Tim, talking about Amy's look, when in the workroom, said that textile looks like some cheap pantyhose, which is harsh coming from Tim.
It is, but it was true.
It was. She originally had her same look she put down the runway, but at the bottom of the coat was like tacked on like this ruffled, or I'm sorry, not ruffled, like a pleated sheer beige fabric that just hung from like the knee down. And it looked a lot like that one look by Samantha for her evil garment, where she had like that black, like, just like shower curtain around the legs. That she did for the Descendants challenge. It looked like that, only in beige. So luckily Tim was like, don't use that. And she did not. Amy listened. Yeah. Next up we had Kentaro. And this was the one that Maggie was referencing earlier. At the end of day one, at the end of the night, he like is the first one. He's like, okay, everybody, it's time to go home. And he like dances over to the door. And he like leaves. And then he peeks around the door. And he's dramatically like, don't bring the tape measures. And Margarita was like right by the door. And she just let out this huge laugh. And like everybody in the workroom laughed. So like now tape measures is just going to be like this inside joke about like, and yeah, cheating, it's a strong allegation. Claire did go home for it. But like now it's going to be like a running joke. And wow, I can't wait for the reunion episode. Woo! I thought the one with, what was it? What was her name? A few seasons ago, Karina. Like, that one was a little rough. Or, like, Ashley, when, like, the Mean Girls were making fun of her on her season. So this is going to be an interesting... Or Cornelius in his last season. So this will be an interesting reunion show. But I liked that. Don't bring the tape measures. And then Zach, about Ayana's final look when it was up on the runway, said, surrealist Bo Peep. And once he said that, I was like... Yes, because the skirt, if you've ever seen Toy Story, there's a toy that Woody's girlfriend is Bo Peep, and she has the skirt of her dress is the exact shape of this pink thing. Different colors, different, but like it's that huge big shape. And once he said that, I was like, yeah. And the bow on her head and everything. And then there was a couple things that I liked about Michael's. So Zach said it looked like the sensual Tin Man. How that wins, I don't know. Because normally when they say it looks like blank of the tin, like Bride of the Tin Man or Tin Man Returns, it's like not good. Mm-hmm. But sensual Tin Man, you know, with my lumps on my uterus and my lump on my shoulder, sensual.
That's great, yeah.
And then Nina, about the same look, said it's like futuristic peplum. And one, I don't like peplum of today. I don't think peplum is a very flattering look. But if a gigantic cylindrical parasite lump on your hip is tomorrow's peplum, no, that's not a future I want to have. If that, no.
No.
I don't know what she meant by that, but I was just like, no, I don't make me hate peplum even more because it's not possible. I imagine Kenya fainted if she had been out on stage at that time. And then my last quote this week was Amy as she was leaving. Botany basically when she left was just like, you know, this is the end. And if they want to put me home on their opinion, that's their opinion. But like, I'm fine with it. Mm-hmm. But Amy said, this will be influential to me in ways I don't even understand yet. And again, Amy, you know, leaving with a good quote of just like, it's true. Like, you're in Project Runway, it's this whirlwind, you're learning a lot, it's a lot of pressure, a lot of stress. And when you go home, I'm sure for like weeks and months and maybe even years afterwards, you know, it's going to influence like the way you design now or the way she might go back and teach and things like that. So I just thought that quote was kind of poignant and nice. Mm-hmm. And then next week, the preview was that it's another unconventional materials challenge. Mm-hmm. And those are always awesome, so it's good to see that we get another one. And I'm not sure what the theme is, but it looked like I saw caution tape and safety vests. So I don't know if it's going to be like, we've already seen like an emergency services one that was like with firefighters. So this one could be like police or like road construction.
Yeah.
Because all I saw was caution tape and safety vests. So, and like a car.
Yeah. I don't know.
But Samantha's gone now, so we won't have our inhaler moment of running around. But
yeah,
it'll be interesting. But that's next week.
Yep.
Do you have any closing statements for this episode?
Not really. I guess like I'm kind of getting excited, like more excited because
we're down to just a few.
I do like when you start to like really whittle down the number.
Top 6.
Like you're getting down where the competition is. It's just getting more and more fierce. We're no more twins.
More twins.
No more Amy.
No more Amy. No
more
Botany.
Botany.
Yep.
I mean, who do you think is gonna go next? Like, I honestly don't know. It's starting to get to that point.
Yeah, I mean, I think Brandon is kind of getting the Aaron treatment of last season where it's like he's just been chosen. So if he goes home, that will truly shock me, but I believe Tim Gunn will use his save if it remains.
Yeah.
Next I could see if Kenya has a slip up. Yeah. I could see it. Same thing if, the ones I could really see now would be Kenya and like Michael. I feel like if they make like one kind of mistake, they might be the more tertiary ones. Like I feel like while I no longer like Margarita as a person because I've seen that she can be a little duplicitous and like you know, not the best. I feel like the judges have liked some of the weirdest designs she's made. Like the dance one, she literally put this person down in like a wicker fedora and like this like cha-cha-cha like dress, and they loved it, and I was like, that's a costume. So, you know, they liked what she put down this week, so I feel like, you know, she'll probably go far.
But maybe she won't. Maybe she'll put down another like 90s dancer pant.
That's like the only time they ever called her out though,
I guess.
Otherwise I feel like she's usually been, but I mean right now the only like the 2 I can see going the farthest are Brandon and Kentaro. And then the other 4 is just like, well, you know, Ayana could slip up as well. Like, she's been safe this whole time. And sometimes you're safe. The judges have no idea who you are, and then you're out. I just feel like they might keep her because she does different design. Because, you know, she likes to keep things a little more, like, modest. But her last couple looks haven't been as modest because, you know, she's playing around with the other ideas. So,
right.
Do you feel someone's going to go?
I don't know. I'm worried about Kentaro.
Really?
I don't want him to go.
Yeah, I guess I like his personality so much I forget that they haven't liked his looks.
But yeah, like
sometimes.
I don't know. Yeah, he's sort of hit and miss. Like this week
Him and Kenya both are like really fluctuate.
I don't know. I'm worried about him. I don't want him to go.
No, that'll be sad. Then Brandon will be without his brother. And that's like the most interesting thing about Brandon, because he's so soft-spoken and kind of like he's not even there. Mm-hmm. But, yeah. Anything else about this week?
I don't think so.
All right, I think that's it for us. Just as a reminder, you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Runway, and we'll see you guys next week.